Welcome to the Be Global by Design podcast, where we talk to creatives, designers, and change makers from around the world about how to build communities where we all want to live. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit subscribe so you know when new episodes are released. Today, we are talking to Abukar Omar, one of the leading thinkers in community assets and capitals globally, including human, social, physical, natural, cultural, financial, and political assets and capital. He and his colleagues have developed a very unique and innovative community project in Sudan, and we will hear about this. Welcome to the show, Abukar.
Thank you, Kristin. Happy to be here.
Let's jump right in. Tell me a little bit about where you are right now, physically, and your project in Sudan.
Currently in Dongula. It's a city in northern state.
Okay.
And northern state is the bordering state with Egypt, North
Okay.
Sudan.
Okay.
I'm on a field mission working on food systems development and food systems community asset management.
Okay. Tell me a little bit more about your approach and the projects that you're working on.
Okay. So the approach and the project is currently hosted within a social enterprise that we registered last year. It's been 6-7 years in the making, but finally registered and launched last year. It's called SAS for Community Assets Development. And SAS is a Sudanese word meaning foundation or bedrock. It's an Arabic word. SAS, we try to map community assets, especially idle assets. So starting by human capital, skills, expertise, knowledge that are idle, not used, moving to social capital, the trust networks that we can leverage or use to, let's say, cut through marketing, to physical capital, from buildings to equipment to tools to digital devices, etc., to natural capital, lands, water, minerals, livestock, trees, jungles, etc.
Yeah.
To cultural capital, everything from songs to poems to dances to sculptures to paintings. Financial capital, including gold, liquid money, stocks, checks, and we also have the institutional capital from registrations, partnership contracts, to stamps, to procedures, protocols, bylaws, all the way to political capital, which is the tools, methodologies, frameworks that people can use to align interests.
Okay.
What we do is we map these assets, we identify the terms of use from the owners or custodians, and then we market them to people who can put them to use. So our goal through SAS is to increase the utilization rate of community assets.
Okay. So give me an example for like cultural assets, for example. How could you use those or how could you make those available to others?
Cultural assets, capitals. This is an area that is very underdeveloped in Sudan. So yeah, the ownership rights for let's say writings for songs is very underdeveloped from the regulatory framework within Sudan, but also the partnerships framework that we Sudanese people have globally. What we currently do is we're trying to lay the foundations for this piece of assets or this category of assets through partnerships with other companies, production houses within Sudan. We're trying to rally the artist community, let's say, aggregate them in one place, do some signature collections and some alternative policy development to advocate locally with the Sudanese government, but also internationally to open some of the closed doors. We're blocked in from so many platforms, being Sudanese, being in so many different blacklists.
Yeah, it's so a couple of things I learned when I was in Sudan in 2022 was one, just getting a bank transfer or getting my visa to work. And at that moment, there were no on the books, there were no laws or regulations saying that we could not use a visa in Sudan. But I could not convince my credit card company that that was true.
Yeah.
So I ended up having to go to, a money transfer place and just carrying the dollars through a mall in order to be able to pay my hotel bill, which was absolutely ridiculous that I could not use my credit card. And another thing that I learned when I was in Sudan is that the pyramids in Sudan are much more profound and prolific than they are in Egypt. And they unfortunately just got buried. So there's a lot of cultural assets in Sudan that we as Westerners just simply don't know about.
And believe it or not, us Sudanese people, we also don't know about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
internally within Sudan, we have a lot to know about ourselves and about the cultural assets that we have.
yeah. Yeah. And so when we've talked a little bit before about this project and about some of the underpinnings of underdevelopment in Sudan, the fact that people don't know what the assets are and things like that, historic extraction practices from Western governments, we often hear about the bad side here in America, like Darfur and like war and all of that other stuff. But with your work, what you're really doing is you're going into communities and saying, we have something here and we have something we can build. Help us to understand how you're making that case to these communities and how they're responding.
Okay. So what we discussed a few minutes ago was just the theory of change, let's say, the strategy, the approach,
Yeah.
but how it all manifests to users or to beneficiaries or to clients or to customers, it manifests through three different programs, three core services. So the first one, we call it the asset registry program.
Huh.
It's where we match make between asset owners and asset users.
Okay.
So again, we map geographically with communities the available assets from the different categories. We meet the owners, we register their assets, I assign them unique identifiers, and then let's say identify terms of use. And then we market the registered and verified assets to potential users. This is the first program. It
Okay.
mostly currently operational with natural assets, so lands, agricultural lands, warehouses, devices, equipments, implements,
Yeah.
machinery,
Okay.
and yeah. The second
Okay.
program, the second service, we call it the Business Development Clinic. It's where we match make between service providers, being experts, consultants, people with vast knowledge in specific domains. We match make between them and clients, service recipients. In our language, we call it the doctors and patients of business.
Okay.
Yeah, so we facilitate for patients of business being cooperatives, NGOs, small and medium enterprises, companies, or even individuals to come book a specific time and meet their preferred doctor. We also have a spin-off from this program where a sponsor can come in to cover the cost, let's say, of some of the patients. This is usually a service used by development agencies, INGOs, where they come in with a cohort of companies or cooperatives, and they pay the specific service of business development for their clients or their beneficiaries.
Okay. So, like, if you had a
So
women's program and you wanted to do women's health, you could come in and provide money, and it helps to not distort the market.
exactly.
Okay.
So what we do is we rally experts to join, come in, register, uh, and appear in the ecosystem as doctors, as consultants. But we also market for the patients, anybody who cannot afford the business development function to be in-house in their company, in their cooperative, in their NGO, to just outsource it and tap into our business clinic upon demand.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, asset registry, the first one. Second one is business clinic. And the third one is investment readiness. It's where we match make between investors and innovators.
Mm-hmm.
So people with ideas who lack finance, we go with them through their business cases, we do the due diligence for investments, and then we launch investment wallets. We then market these investment wallets to the investors within the network itself. And we mostly facilitate micro investments. So
Okay.
usually there are options for people with big tickets, but what we are focusing on is small tickets, micro investments.
What's an example of like a
What's an
micro
example?
investment? Yeah.
It's just when you invest your savings, 20, 30, $50.
Yeah.
This solution specifically in our fragile region is not available because we lack the regulatory framework for a stock market, for example. So to do proper investment, you'll need to develop your own business case, you need to get your own lawyer, and then the cost adds up. What
Sure.
we do is we try to distribute the cost across so many people so you can invest small tickets.
Okay. Okay. And so with these micro investments, who owns those investments? Who is capitalizing on those investments once you've made them?
There are different modalities. So currently we have a few projects ongoing
Mm-hmm.
where you can pitch into the project the way you can. You can work your time, and against your human capital, you get shares. You can invest your land, you can invest your physical capital, but you can
Yeah.
also invest your financial capital. And
Okay.
again, there are different modalities. Sometimes we open or launch a new company with the agreed upon shares. Sometimes we do what we call in Sudan murabaha. I don't know how to explain that in English, to be honest. But we have different modalities to delineate the shares and the rights and responsibilities of the different people engaged.
Okay. And so the idea is that everybody in the community is investing in some way
Mhm.
towards the community. And then you're basically taking only local resources. Are you taking investments from outside as well, or you're really focused on the local investments into the local community?
We would love to accept foreign investments,
Okay.
but we don't have access to that. That was the reason that drove us or driven us to this approach, is that we lack the access to international investments and to external finance. So we started with what we have, and what we have is so many different capitals. At the
Yeah.
time, 3, 4, 5 years ago, we lacked a mechanism where you can come to the table, contribute, and your contribution is preserved, both rights and responsibilities. So the contractual, the institutional framework that
Uh-huh.
enables people to come in and pitch in what they have, be it time, be it money, be it other forms of capital, and then their rights are preserved. This took us some time to come up with a model that would facilitate this.
And what
But in
has been
principle, we do not oppose external investment. We just think start with what you have, and
sure?
then when you have a small candle that is lit up, maybe other people will come and join in.
I like that analogy. what has been the reaction of people? Have you done this project in more than one location? Is this one area, or how is this playing out?
Okay. So the ecosystem, SAS ecosystem with the different programs and the different core operational functions in the background powering these three programs. This is an online system, a remote work environment where it's mostly Sudanese people scattered across the globe, from the US all the way to Australia, including Africa, Asia, Europe. People are everywhere.
Okay.
But how we deliver the service, mostly it's face to face, in person.
Okay.
So how do we do this? This hybrid model between the online and the physical. We we borrowed the language from the telecom industry,
Okay.
where in the telecom industry you have a network tower.
Huh.
In SAS we have development tower.
Okay. Okay.
So we are constantly deploying development towers, and a development tower is one person or a small team trained on this modality and this system, equipped with digital tools to connect remotely, and then facing our clients face to face in different locations. So in Sudan, for example, we have 18 states, we
Okay.
have 189 localities,
Wow, that's a
and
lot.
we have 737, I think, administrative units.
Wow, that's a
So
huge amount.
exactly in our geography, ecosystems geography, we want to deploy 18 state level towers and 89 locality level towers, and then all the way to the administrative units towers.
And it seems to me like what you've done by doing this and creating this network the way that you've created it is you've made it very easy for somebody who wants to do a larger investment to come to you and to be able to get to the grassroots level quite easily.
Exactly. If you want to, let's say, tap into a specific community in a specific location that we have a development tower in, and
Hmm.
usually the development tower is someone, a man or a woman, most probably youth, from the local community itself. We just tap into them, we train them on our modality, and we created this agent modality like system. So if you want to tap into a specific community to check their available assets, lands available for rent, for example, vehicles, if you want to collect information, data about their markets, food markets, health markets, education, housing markets, it's very easy to jump into a specific location through the tower and do whatever you want or possible with a certain community.
I mean, to a certain extent, what you're doing is brilliant because it's almost replicating what a national government would do. But if you don't have a strong national government who is doing this in a way that is equitable, in a way that is fair, and, without alternative incentives for maybe skewing statistics, you create this and it allows people to invest, to see a market, to see what's available. And that's why governments fail or succeed is their ability to be able to explain what it is that they have and to appropriate resources in an equitable way.
Mhm. Agreed. Agreed. We currently focused on the food system element. So we say we are in the sector of community assets development, but it's a vast sector. It includes everything, literally.
Yeah.
But the lens through which we look is the food system. So we're trying to map food system related assets, skills starting by the human capital, the skills related to food systems, and going to the physical assets. The lands we're registering into the asset registry is agricultural land. The warehouses that we're registering are warehouses that are able to be used in the food system. So to store crops, to store livestock, to store consumer goods, etc., and so on. So just to narrow the bandwidth, it's community assets development, food system related, and through the three programs I told you about: the asset registry, the business clinic, and investment wallets.
And so we don't have to get into all the details, but you've explained to me in the past, and maybe you can just do a broad sweep of it, that, Sudan is considered the breadbasket of Africa, or was at one time, but then there was the British who came in and they really forced everyone to grow wheat, which is not part of the Sudanese diet. And now you have a lot of wheat fields and people are not able to eat. Talk a little bit about how your food systems development is really trying to repair the food ecosystem and the agricultural ecosystem in spite of the mismanagement and extraction for decades.
Okay, so it wasn't just the British, it was before the
The
British.
Americans too, I should say, the West.
It's not just the West. It's a collection of unfortunate events. It was colonization, it was climate shocks, it was internal collapse of the past governance system in Sudan, so the previous sultanates. So many different elements played into this. But the reality now is that we have, in the past 150 years, 8 different recorded famines. So almost every generation in Sudan that lived in the past 100 something years have went through a major famine.
It's
Okay,
not because
now
your land can't grow things.
it's not that, and in the famine literature, it's never that.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it's a distribution issue. Usually, a famine is a food distribution challenge. And currently, I'm in northern Sudan. A few weeks ago, I was in Eastern Sudan in Kassala. And it's the same story. You have the producers and production areas on different seasons across the year, producing different stuff. And when you're in the season for a specific vegetable, for example, it gets so cheap, it rots. We still lack the infrastructure to, let's say, distribute the food internally, or to preserve it, or to export it. At the same time, we struggle with the market discovery and the price discovery. So in one place within Sudan, you'll have, let's say, 1 kilogram of something, cucumber, for example, for $1.
Yeah.
And 300 kilometers away, it's for $10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So usually the
Because and
consumers
it's not
buy
because
the
it's
item
worth more, it's organic or anything else. It's just that there's no basis for anybody to know what that price should be.
to know, or to actually do the transportation.
Yeah.
Sometimes you require cold transportation and you don't have the equipment for cold shipments. Sometimes you just don't know the price. Sometimes there is conflicts on the road, so you have to go some other very far away route. And yeah, it's a distribution challenge. What we're doing and trying to intervene with is connecting different communities to each other. So to support with the price discovery, and to also aggregate the demand and inform producers and create offtake agreements. So we try to support consumer cooperatives, for example, aggregate their households, collect the, let's say, real demand, real consumption, then aggregate the household level demand together at a consumer cooperative level, and then aggregate the different consumer cooperatives with each other, and then go to the farmers to create contract farming agreements where we can stabilize the prices by the direct connection between consumers and producers.
Interesting. And
We've been doing this for the past 6-7 years, starting 2019 before COVID. And in different consumer items, we managed to reduce the cost in a range, sometimes 5%, but sometimes 50%, just by creating that direct connection.
Wow. And
We usually manage to double the revenue for producers and cut the cost for consumers by half.
Wow. That's huge. So what have you found in these local communities where you're working? Is it easy to get people to work together and to understand this model? And are you seeing an impact? You just talked about some pretty big impacts, but
It's okay. It's easy to work with the different communities if you can speak their language. And usually you can't speak their language. So you have to find someone, an ally in that community to partner with, and then
yeah.
they speak to their families, their neighbors, and their local community. This is what we've been trying to do in the past few years, is to create this network of allies who agree and buy in into this theory of change and this intervention strategy. And then each one of us speaks to their own community in their own language and in their own style. The core elements are the same. We're trying to mobilize and utilize available assets. Go to your family, go to your village, and speak to your to your people in the way you see fit. It's usually easiest when you have an ally in the specific community to translate the language.
Okay.
And to also, I think, benefit from the social capital.
Sure.
Yeah, the
Sure.
trust network matters a lot.
Sure. And what about in Eastern Sudan? You got, I think the last time we talked, you were trying to start a few different agricultural businesses and small manufacturing in one community. How's that going?
Mhm. Well, it went through the first phase, the asset registry phase, all different, all there were three projects at the time.
Yeah.
All three were informal ownership. So we
Okay.
supported the owners to go through the formalization stage, to approach the government and register their lands and to get the registration certificate. And then we registered them into our ecosystem, SAS Asset Registry. We then moved them to the second phase, which is the business clinic program. And we developed, out of the three, I believe, two business cases are now ready.
Okay.
And one is still being developed. And then we're now approaching the third phase, which is initiating the investment wallets. We've been talking to different individuals to invest in these specific investment wallets, but also speaking with impact investment institutions, development agencies, that in certain locations, in certain contexts, the community cannot buy 100% of the shares. They just simply don't have the money. So if we get impact investment of 20%, of 30%, community can cover the remaining 70%. So we're at that stage now where we're, let's say, collecting money for the investment wallets.
And that money is going to go towards like equipment and training and seeds and inputs and that sort of thing, or?
To stuff that do not exist within the community. So if the community has a vehicle, then we mapped it and it's being part of the business case and it's part of the project already. If the community has the human capital, it's part of the project already. We
Yeah.
only open investment wallets for capitals that does not exist within the local community.
Okay. Okay.
And it's usually technology
Yeah.
related.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then can you talk a little bit about the uncertainty on the ground right now in Sudan? Is there like how do people feel about growing and investing in their land right now? Is it pretty safe? I mean, we hear a lot on the news, but I also know from my travels that I can pretty much ignore what I hear on the news because it's often overblown and people feel okay on the ground. What is the situation right now? How are people feeling?
Okay. Out of the 18 states, we have Darfur, we have Kordofan. These are around 8 states. 8 states. These are war zones currently.
Okay.
So it's pretty unsafe, I think, I believe. And I haven't been there yet.
Okay. Okay.
Eastern Sudan and Central Sudan, Northern Sudan are relatively safe, but feeling the impacts of the war. So consumer items prices, inflation, internally displaced people, all, let's say, sustenance systems are being hammered. By sustenance systems, I mean food system, health, education, housing. So in northern state where I am right now, it's safe, pretty
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah.
But again, you feel the impact of the war. People are struggling with financials.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah. With regards to what we do, the work we do commercially, I think the lack of options and alternatives is giving us some advantages. Yeah. I mean, if you don't get up and work, what would you do? What else?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We support our different communities by exploring unseen potential.
Mhm. Sure.
Yeah. And usually, once they see what could be done, they're very excited and they're very energetic and things move forward.
Yeah, and I think that's true anywhere you work. A lot of it is the mindset issue. People only know what they know and they don't really see or haven't ever asked questions about what else is in my community, what else can I be doing, until sometimes somebody from the outside or somebody internally says, "Hey, maybe we should look at this. Maybe we should think about doing
Hmm.
something new and innovative and things like that."
Exactly.
So what does the next 5 years look like for you?
Okay. Next 5 years, we want to, let's say, mobilize enough assets within Sudan to launch a food bank
Okay.
where every single citizen or non-citizen, every single person who lives in Sudan is registered into the food bank. Their consumer item demand is captured and it's reverse engineered into production programs and it's being, let's say, contracted with farmers, with small and medium enterprises to produce the food, transport, warehouse, process, and distribute the food back all the way to the registered food bank clients. So we're now doing the community assets development element as a standalone, but we want to rally enough assets to establish a food bank. That's within the next 5 years.
Okay. And you have a lot. Just as you're saying this, I'm trying to think through what I didn't know before I went there, but there are very, very large billion-dollar agriculture companies in Sudan, and I assume that they are still operating, and they are purchasing Caterpillar equipment, and there's a lot of equipment. There's a lot of access at one level. Anyways, if you have a certain amount of money, there's access to the things that you need to do to build this food bank system. It's just it sounds to me like the work that you're doing is really connecting it. You have the markets externally as well as internally, and you're just connecting all the pieces and making sure it's available to local communities. Am I wrong? Am I overstating that?
I think you're correct. It's just the large scale companies we have in Sudan are mostly engaged in export activities. So they
Okay.
farm, they produce, and they export. And we're not we're not satisfied internally yet. So I think the exportation can wait for a little while.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
And it's also that the large scale companies are working within the formal sector. And the formal sector of the economy in Sudan is 20 to 30%. There
Okay.
are 70% of the economy is informal, and no one wants to touch it. So to us, that's a blue ocean strategy. We go to the 70%. We work with the people to formalize their businesses and their assets and their agreements. And then they can partner with the formal sector, including the large scale companies. But someone
Sure.
needs to do the formalization step.
Sure. Yes. Yes. To do the connections. What didn't I ask you, or what else do you think we need to know about SAS Foundation and other anything else that you're working on?
I think we still lack a lot of human capital.
Okay.
So if I were to send a message, I would say we're planning the official launch of SaaS ecosystem in the next few months, maybe by June.
Okay.
So a message to everybody who listens to this or who comes close to this story is come join us in the business clinic. Register as a doctor and start seeing some patients.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
message.
And where are you headquartered? Where is SAS Foundation headquartered?
It's in Port Sudan.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, thank
Very
you.
good. Well, thank you so much for coming on today and telling us about this project. I think it's really fascinating. I actually talk about the project quite a lot to quite a few people because I think it's relevant even here in Michigan where, we have similar stories and I mean they're different, don't get me wrong. The degree, is different, but we have a lot of rural areas here in Michigan which were once maybe mill towns or once had, an industry that disappears and they really are struggling with housing, with basic needs, with, malnutrition. There's, an absurd amount of people, in my opinion, on Medicaid, which is like food assistance programs here in Michigan. And a lot of it has to do with rural poverty because we haven't figured some of this stuff out. And so I do think the model that you're developing has relevance throughout the world. And I wish you luck with it. I can't
Thank
wait to
you.
hear how this comes to fruition.
Thank you so much, Christine, and speak to you again soon.
Okay, take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.